Utgard-loki. Angry because of his snoring, which kept them awake, Thor thrice dealt him fearful blows with his hammer. These strokes, instead of annihilating the monster, merely evoked sleepy comments to the effect that a leaf, a bit of bark, or a twig from a bird's nest overhead had fallen upon his face. Early on the morrow, Skirmir left Thor and his companions, pointing out the shortest road to Utgard-loki's castle, which was built of great ice blocks with huge, glittering icicles as pillars. The gods, slipping between the bars of the great gate, presented themselves boldly before the king of the giants. Utgard-loki, who, recognizing them, immediately pretended to be greatly surprised at their small size, and expressed a wish to see for himself what they could do, as he had often heard of their prowess vaunted. Loki, who had fasted longer than he had wished, immediately declared that he was ready to eat for a wager with anyone. So the king ordered a great wooden trough full of meat to be brought into the hall, and placing Loki at one end and his cook Logi at the other, he bade them see which would win. Although Loki did wonders and soon reached the middle of the trough, he found that whereas he had picked the bones clean, his opponent had devoured both them and the trough. Smiling contemptuously, Utgard-loki said that it was evident they could not do much in the eating line. And this so nettled Thor that he declared if Loki could not eat like the voracious cook, he felt confident he could drain the biggest vessel in the house, such as was his unquenchable thirst. Immediately a horn was brought in, and Utgard-loki, declaring that good drinkers emptied it all in one draught, moderately thirsty persons at 2, and small drinkers at 3, Thor applied his lips to the rim, but although he drank so deep that he thought he would burst, the liquid still came almost to the rim when he raised his head. A second and third attempt to empty this horn proved equally unsuccessful. Thialfi then offered to run a race, but a young fellow named Hugi, who was matched against him, soon outstripped him, although Thialfi ran remarkably fast. Thor promised next to show his strength by lifting weights, and was challenged to pick up the giant's cat. Seizing an opportunity to tighten his belt megin-giord, which greatly enhanced his strength, he tugged and strained, but was able only to raise one of its paws from the floor. Strong as great Thor, no doubt, when megin-giorder he braces tightly o'er his rock-firm loins. Viking Tales of the North by R.B. Anderson. A last attempt on his part to wrestle with Utgard-loki's old nurse Ellie, the only opponent deemed worthy of such a puny fellow, ended just as disastrously, and the gods, acknowledging they were beaten, were hospitably entertained. On the morrow they were escorted to the confines of Utgard, where the giant politely informed them that he hoped they would never call upon him again, as he had been forced to employ magic against them. He then went on to explain that he was the giant Skirmir, and that he had not taken the precaution to interpose a mountain between his head and Thor's blows. While he seemingly lay asleep, he would have been slain, as deep clefts in the mountainside to which he pointed testified to the god's strength. Next he informed them that Loki's opponent was Logi, or Wildfire, that Thialfi had run a race with Hugi, or Thought, than which no swifter runner exists, that Thor's drinking horn was connected to the ocean, where his deep draughts had produced a perceptible ebb, that the cat was in reality the terrible Midgard snake encircling the world, which Thor had nearly pulled out of the sea, and that Ellie, his nurse, was old age, whom none can resist. Having finished these explanations, and cautioned them never to return, or he would defend himself by similar delusions, Utgard-loki vanished, and although Thor angrily brandished his hammer, and would have destroyed his castle, such a mist enveloped it that it could not be seen, and the thunder god was obliged to return to Thrudvang without having administered his proposed salutary lesson to the race of the giants. The strong-armed Thor, full oft against Jotunheim did wend, but spite his belt celestial, spite his gauntlets, Utgard-loki still his throne retains. Evil, itself a force, to force yields never. Viking Tales of the North by R.B. Anderson. So that was Utgard-loki, the 6th section of Chapter 4 of Myths of the Norsemen by Helene A Guerber, Thor. I will be working my way through this book section by section, and if there are any other public domain books that you would like for me to read, please leave a comment below. Did you enjoy this video? Then subscribe for more, and be sure to check me out on Facebook and Patreon. Thank you for listening, and have a lovely evening.